My top 10 1980 soundtracks coming up. Thanks for coming to this channel. Thanks for the subscription. We'll go no intro because I don't want this video to go too long. Just got back from FAN EXPO Chicago. I believe that was Wizard World Con for a while, and then it morphed into FAN EXPO. I was going to go to see some celebrities, get some autographs, and have a good time. And I did that for the most part. Autograph prices, are getting higher and higher, so it's you got to really save up to have a good time these days. But before I get to the 80s soundtrack, I bought this there. It's 40 bucks, a lot cheaper on eBay, but eBay has the Target version. This is Wayne and Garth in Black Hawk jerseys from Wayne's World. Wayne's World was supposed to be shot in Aurora, Illinois, which is just like 20 minutes down the highway there. But it was a great movie. I love Wayne's World. And some of the scenes, the car spindle scene was just shot like 10 minutes from me. And they removed the car spindle to put like a Walgreens or some drugstore or something. Oh, they should have left the spindle. I digress. But this says special edition. It looks just like the Target one. I don't know. If you know, let me know in the comments below. What's the difference between special edition and Target besides paying a little more? I'm through with Funko Pops. I didn't collect a lot of them. I think they're like Beanie Baby, where they're just going to lose value in that. But I collect just for stuff I like, not for value or anything like that. A Star Wars person that was there, because I love Star Wars, was Emily Swallow. She plays the Armorer. And I was going to have her sign this, but a lot of these celebrities now, I don't know if it's their agents or them, the one fee is for an 8x10 signed autograph, but then if you're going to bring like soundtrack album or a figure or a poster, they're going to charge you even more. And most likely the reason is because they're seeing the eBay prices and they're seeing that people are flipping this stuff for more, so they're going to charge for more for the larger items. I don't really agree with that, unfortunately. Why should we have to pay? Because the flippers are always ruining everything. And sometimes if you look on eBay, the autograph prices aren't really selling for as much as you're paying, but I don't know, whatever. So I didn't have her sign that. I wanted to save a little cash, just had her sign an 8x10. This is a really cool 8x10 anyway, so I'm really happy to throw that up there on my Star Wars wall. Of course, Star Wars, we're talking about soundtracks. Star Wars, Jaws, E.T., classic soundtracks. So the cast of Vacation was going to show up. Just a few days ago, Chevy Chase dropped out. Love Chevy Chase's movie. Got the Fletch soundtrack there. I was not going to have him sign it because I wanted everyone to sign the Vacation album. But because Anthony Michael Hall's character is not depicted on the Vacation soundtrack album, I had him sign Weird Science. I mean, another great movie. And years ago, I had Elin Mitchell Smith, which is his co-star in it. He signed it. And then the guy that played, he was in Mad Max Road Warrior. And he was kind of the same character in this. He signed it. He was a real cool guy to meet. So finally I got, Anthony Michael Hall's signature right there on the Weird Science. And if you grew up, in the 80s and stuff, soundtracks to movies were so important. You could make or break a bad movie by having a great soundtrack. You could have a great movie because everyone loved the soundtrack. You could have a movie that was really good, but it didn't have the right songs in it. It just, 80s music was still all over the place. I just saw an interesting video and report about how music that's coming out now is like the same chords, same kind of lyrics. It's all being contrived, the same sound. In the 80s on a soundtrack, you'd have all kinds of music from heavy metal to like pop dance stuff, all on the same soundtrack. So it was really, really cool. Variety, spice of life. So I had the people from Vacation sign my soundtrack album from Vacation. Of course, Christie Brinkley there. We love Christie Brinkley. We'll show some, if you know, Christie Brinkley. Beautiful, beautiful blonde. Everyone had posters and stuff. You either had like Christie Brinkley posters, Heather Locklear posters, Heather Thomas posters. The old school dudes are still hanging the Farrah Fawcett posters, but yeah, I didn't have any. I felt too weird. I asked my parents if I could hang out girl posters, so I just had heavy metal posters all over my room. So yes, Chevy Chase wasn't able to come. Hopefully he was going to sign there. But since he dropped out, that gave me extra cash I was going to spend on his autograph, because some of these signatures, they're around $100 now. My limit used to be $40, but that is old school now. Now you're paying, the cheaper ones are around $100, and there's stars that like $300-400. It's too much for me. So I just because I couldn't get Chevy, the other female co-star, Miss Beverly D'Angelo, and she was like I think like 32 or something. So you have Christie Brinkley was like, I don't know, around 28 at the time this filmed. She was like 31, 32, and it was just, I mean, you're a young teen watching this movie, all these beautiful women in it. It's a hilarious movie, great movie, Vacation. So really glad to add this to my signed soundtrack wall, although it's more than a wall now, and really add this to the collection of signed soundtracks. I had this card of Christie Brinkley for a long time hanging up. I'm going to hang that right back. I'm probably going to move stuff around so I can hang the soundtrack up against this iconic scene with Miss Christie Brinkley. She was really nice. It's nice when people are nice when you meet them, because you only got a few seconds with them. But it's cool if they look up, hey, how are you? What's your name? Blah, 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 blah. Shake your hand or something. As opposed to like people are just, next, next, next. Next, like I got to work like 4 hours to make $100, so at least like look up, hey, nice to meet you. You don't have to mean it, just yeah. So yeah, in the 80s, this one is a great one. The movie I think came out maybe 79 or 80. In the UK, it really wasn't a big hit here. You don't have to find the movie, but for sure find the soundtrack. Riding High, a great soundtrack. The Police, The Pretenders, Squeeze, Madness, Cliff Richard, Joe Jackson, and just it goes on and on and on. Great stuff, great soundtrack. Find that one if you can. These are just honorable mentions. Of course, Revenge of the Nerds, great movie, interesting little soundtrack. Tron had a song from Journey on it. Again, you just have one killer song and that will help sell that movie. And of course, band Fastway, you know, great. They play pretty much, you know, are the only group on the soundtrack. It's their songs for the soundtrack of Trick or Treat. Didn't make the top 10, but I did want to show because it's also iconic, like I said. Footloose. The theme song from Kenny Loggins. He was killing it. Great fun soundtrack, but didn't crack my top 10. Of course, I have displayed the Fletch one, you know, Chevy, and Back to the Future because Michael J. Fox was at this autograph show, but he was, the price range was a little bit out. So let's go top 10 80s soundtrack that I have in my vinyl collection. Number 10, Up the Creek. Why? Why is the movie that great? Yes, it is. It's got a few guys from the movie called Animal House, which was, you know, Fast Times and Animal House is perfect comedy movies. Stripes. The 80s was killing it for comedy movies. But anyway, so Up the Creek has the song from Cheap Trick, Up the Creek, has a song from Heart, has a song from Kick Axe, has a Beach Boys song on it, has a song from Shooting Star. So yeah, it's got some good stuff. It's a fun movie, and who I would love to meet her to get her to sign it. Jennifer Runyon, yeah, she was the blonde in the movie. I would love to get her autograph. Jennifer, if you're watching, I'd love to get your autograph. Number 9, the punk rock side of me says, "Come on, you gotta get cool with this top 10 list." Number 9 for me is Repo Man. Got Iggy Pop doing the title track, Black Flag doing the classic TV Party, got Suicidal Tendencies, a band that I never really liked that much. The Circle Jerks. Fear is on here. It's just, yeah, it's a great punk kind of movie. Awesome punk soundtrack. Number 9, Repo Man. Number 8 is Pretty in Pink. Of course, the title track by the excellent Psychedelic Furs. You got New Order here. You got the Smiths. You got In Excess. So just orchestral maneuvers in the dark. The cool kids just call them OMD. And I have it signed by Mr. Andrew McCartney. He was at an autograph show years and years before I'm signing that, so that'll go back up on the wall. This is number 7, and this is, so soundtracks, you know, you have a score, like Conan the Barbarian's a cool score, Aliens, Jaws, so you have the score of just like, you know, orchestra kind of playing, but I really, this list here is like the soundtracks. We have a whole bunch of artists, or you have one artist doing the whole soundtrack. This one was one artist doing the whole soundtrack. This is a little man called Prince up there from Minnesota, and this is Purple Rain, of course. When it came out, I couldn't like Purple Rain, I couldn't like Prince. I was kind of like that with Footloose. I was in the heavy metal and couldn't like that pop stuff. Although every single time one of these songs came on the radio, if no one was around, I would turn that radio up. And then, you know, the title track, Purple Rain, is probably one of the best slow songs ever. It's a great soundtrack. Obviously, Prince and a Revolution with Purple Rain. Number 6, a huge movie still. It had a sequel recently. That was a great movie, so that's why just the popularity is just killing it. And of course, Tom Cruise's film career has never slowed down. The guy's movie after movie, hit after hit. And I'm talking about the big one, Top Gun, number 6. every kid had this on cassette or LP that I know. Every record collection you go through, someone would, oh, yep, Top Gun. You know, you had Eddie and the Cruisers usually, or you had Top Gun, the big soundtracks. And yeah, Top Gun, it's got Kenny Loggins, of course, Loverboy, Cheap Trick again with Mighty Wings. They never seem to play that song live, but man, I wish they do. I just love Cheap Trick. I would love them to make some deep cuts, play some Up the Creek, play some Mighty Wings. Also, we have Berlin with Take My Breath Away, one of my favorite bands. I just saw Berlin. I went to a 80s night thing, saw Howard Jones. Haven't seen Howard Jones in a while. Saw him years ago at a club, like maybe 10, 11 years ago at a small club, Howard Jones. Where am I? Well, I can put some Howard Jones right here. Also, I saw Berlin was the next band on. They were really good. I saw Berlin maybe like 10 years ago also. And then Culture Club came out. It was the second time for me. All these bands I've seen before. Culture Club played Chicago Theater, so it was a little bit larger of a place. But it was a really good 80s night show. But yeah, so I'm talking about that because Berlin, Terry Nunn and Berlin are on this soundtrack with Top Gun, Take My Breath Away. Number 5, my favorite movie, and cracked the top 5 80s soundtrack for me. Number 5 is the Blues Brothers, of course. Dan Aykroyd and the late, great John Belushi make up a lot of the tracks here. But you also have Aretha Franklin doing Think. I saw Aretha Franklin live twice. Blew me away both times. Both times she played Think. It was really good. Yeah, so yeah, she caught the K, the Peter. You talk about a perfect movie with a perfect musical soundtrack movie. Someone had their name. That's what you did old school. You put your name on your record. Who is that? Dawn St. Amel. Dawn St. Amel, if you're watching, thanks for your record. Number 4, I tell you, this was a great documentary. I've watched part 1, 2, and a lot of people don't know there is a part 3, but there is a part 3. Decline of Western Civilization. Part 1 was punk. Part 2 dealt with all these hair metal bands from LA. All the people that thought they were going to rule the world and hit it. Some of them did, and a lot of them didn't. The soundtrack is great. It's got Alice Cooper, Guns N' Roses teaming up to do Under My Wheels. Faster Pussycat doing The Bathroom Wall, Motorhead on here, Armored Saint on here, Lizzie Borden, saw him live at a club in 89, 90, he was awesome. Queensryche is on here, saw them opening up for Metallica years ago. Rigor Mortis, Metal Church, so yeah, this is heavy metal perfection. The Decline of Western Civilization Part 2, The Metal Years, yeah, number 4, awesome soundtrack. Number 3, now this soundtrack was hard to find, came out on CD, it came out on vinyl, but no one had it, and then they reissued it, and so, but it did, the first pressings came out shortly after the movie came out, which is the mid-80s, early to mid-80s, so this pressing is a Japanese 1989 pressing, and of course the movie I'm talking about is Valley Girl. Like I said, it's hard to find on vinyl at times. There's a lot of repressings now. So, but the original, I had to check it because I'm like, did they actually even have a soundtrack that came out along when the movie came out? But they did. I always thought it was like 20 years after the movie they started to finally make the soundtrack, but they actually did. And like I said, this one came out in 1989, Japanese pressing. Love My Way by Psychedelic Furs. Got songs by Sparks. Eyes of a Stranger by Payolas. I've talked about them on this channel. A Million Miles Away. I would say it's power pop, but to me it was like one of the, probably the first punk song I got into, you know, because I thought that was kind of what punk was. Yeah, the Plimsouls with A Million Miles Away. I'm Out With You, Modern English. You got The Jam, you got The Clash. You got Do You Really Want to Hurt Me by Culture Club. Let's just talk about them. I Eat Cannibals. So yeah, great. You think of the cheesy, not the big popular 80s hits, but like the more alternative 80s hits, they're all on this record. Valley Girl. Number 3, Valley Girl. Number 2, speaking about alternative to the cheesy 80s hits, another movie that just showed 2 or 3 songs from each artist, and it was well done. I just talked about it on my last video where I took you around the Brian's Funhouse and showed you all my movie posters talking about It's a Musical War. You got the Go-Go's, XTC, Oingo Boingo, Orchestra Maneuvers in the Dark, The Police, Wall of Voodoo, Devo, one of my favorite bands always you can see around here. Lots of Devo stuff. Joan Jett and the Blackheart, Echo and the Bunnymen, X, Scafish. I mean, the list just goes on. This is a great movie. A lot of it was recorded in 1980 itself. Great movie and a great soundtrack. Number 2, Erg. It's Musical War for 80 soundtrack. What could beat Erg? What did you say? What is better than Erg and Musical War? And better than Decline of Western Cinema? Better than Valley Girl? What did you play more than those soundtracks, Mr. Brian's Funhouse? And I'll tell you, this was an easy one. When I was at work thinking, what am I going to do for my next video? I should tie it into, you know, heading to FAN EXPO and, you know, the creative juices were flowing. And I thought, yeah, I'll do a top 10 80s vinyl soundtrack because I have so many soundtracks still. And yeah, it was a no-brainer. I just was like, okay, that's one. I'll just come up with 2 through 10 and have to switch them around and all that. But number 1, no-brainer. No-brainer. Heavy Metal. First saw this movie trying to unscramble it on TV or something. Like, oh, is that a cartoon boob? What? And then finally saw it. The movie, of course, is Heavy Metal. Animated. The people that brought you Heavy Metal magazine. Adult animation. Fantasy stuff. You know, it's got drawings like this. I gotta make sure, you get banned all the time or told you're adult content if you show a cartoon boob. But everyone's wearing clothes there, so that's good. Yeah, Heavy Metal. Great movie. Great soundtrack. What is on it? Well, I'll tell you. The Mob Rules by Black Sabbath. Probably my favorite Black Sabbath song that isn't sung by Mr. Ozzy Osbourne. Blue Oyster Cult is on there. Cheap Trick's got 2 songs. Reach Out. Probably my top 3 favorite Cheap Trick songs. They also do I Must Be Dreamin'. Devo does Working on a Coal Mine. Don Felder, the only Eagle person. Well, I guess I kind of like Joe Walsh, but I saw him live, Mr. Don Felder, and he did Heavy Metal Taking a Ride. Grand Funk Railroad on there. Sammy Hagar. Sammy Hagar's solo stuff is way better than Sammy Hagar's Van Halen era stuff, and that's fine. I like, you know. Of course, we all like Roth and Van Halen, and Van Hagar is okay, but Sammy Hagar, I think we forget, because he's had such a long career, Chickenfoot and all the other stuff, his just early stuff before Van Halen. Your Love Is Driving Me Crazy, Two Sides of Love. I Can't Drive 55 was alright, it's a little cheesy. But here, you know, he's got the song Heavy Metal, great song. Journey with Open Arms, of course, that's one of the scenes when you're a kid, and you see the cartoon nude woman sleeping over at that cab driver's house. It was crazy. I loved it. Cartoon. Stevie Nicks is on here. Trust, Riggs. Yeah, it's just great. The whole experience of Heavy Metal. You can't beat that. Number 1, Heavy Metal. Thanks for watching.